Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com New Jersey Invitational, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller, alongside Michael Majors. How you doing, sir?
Great, how are you?
We've got a nice standard deck here.
Oh yeah.
And we have seen various Temur Emerge style decks do well at the Pro Tour.
We have.
Follow that after the fact. You have a new spin on an old favorite.
I do. I basically, all right, so like if you want to like break it down a little bit, Owen's deck at the PT was like a combo deck, right? You're just like trying to turbo out an Emrakul.
Yes.
And Andrew Brown's deck is like a more aggressively slanted deck that was trying to like hard lock people with Elder Deep Fiend, basically. So I've basically like taken elements of both decks, and I think I've made something better. Now
Would
the question
you say
is,
you've merged them together?
I have merged. We're missing the E there, but you're doing a good job. I like where your head's at. Yes, we merged the decks together. I think my deck is very good. I'm not sure if I can live up to its potential. It's very hard to play. I haven't been able to really convince anyone else to play it. But basically, I've taken like the kind of lowball stuff like Primal Druid and more Retrogryphs and cheap Emerge creatures from Andrew Brown's deck and put them into Owen's deck to kind of bridge the gap a little bit better. And you're still like a hard ramp deck because obviously Primal Druid finds you lands and you still have like Nissa's Pilgrimage. And I even have Shrine of the Forsaken God because it's actually pretty easy to get up to 7 physical lands on the battlefield. Yeah. But basically, I'm just trying to Emrakul people.
Right, so you've got the, Emerge starter package with the sweet, sweet Emrakul finish.
Exactly.
All in one deck.
Best of both worlds.
All right, so we've got all the enablers from the Vessel to Gather the Pack, to Grapple with the Past, and the Traverse package.
Yep.
Then you have all the creatures you want to be doing good things with, which are the Retrogryph, Elder Deep Fiend, Emrakul, and then this Kuroda engine, along with Ishkanah, of course.
Yep.
This engine of Primal Druid, Sidisi's Faithful, Pilgrim's Eye.
Exactly.
These parts are all mix and matching and doing all kinds of cool things. Talk about the Sidisi's Faithful, especially with Primal Druid.
All right. So I only have one Sidisi's Faithful, and it hurts my heart, but I had two for the longest time and finally cut one to add another, the fourth Vessel of Nascency. Basically, Sidisi's Faithful is kind of like a split card. It's like a creature that acts as a spell. And this is nice when you have like Grapple and Gather the Pack. It's something that you can like rebuy from your graveyard when you need a cheap interactive spell, or just something to hit off Gather to increase your creature count in general. But directly with Primal Druid, it's a nice little combo. You can play your Sidisi's Faithful, sack your Primal Druid, get a land, and bounce something, gain some tempo back. And Sidisi's Faithful can also just do some like really messed up stuff with the Emerge creatures Emrakul and Ishkanah.
Sure.
It doesn't come up super often, but I've definitely had some sequences where I'm like, Emrakul, take your turn, untap, attack you, play Sidisi's Faithful, bounce Emrakul, play it.
Do a couple turns, really get them good.
And then, of course, you can like bounce a Deep Fiend, bounce a Gryph. That comes up less often. And then like Ishkanah has some nice synergy with it as well. But yeah, it's just like a nice versatile card, and it's even still a creature, so occasionally you'll discount your Emerge creatures a little bit by having it on the battlefield. Sure.
Of course, you got Kozilek's Return in here along with this whole package we've seen before, enabling you to keep up with all the creature decks and the swarm decks.
Exactly.
Also, go over the Shrine again. This is a pretty sweet interaction with your Eldrazi spells here.
Yeah, so of course I have Nissa's Pilgrimage, just like most of the other like red-green-ish ramp decks do. And then I have Primal Druid, which I added to the deck over like Gnarlwood Dryad, for instance.
Sure.
So there's actually a lot of ways in my deck to just actually put a lot of lands on the battlefield and start card casting stuff. Specifically, when you get to 7 physical lands, Shrine of the Forsaken God acts as like another card type in your graveyard, like an Eldrazi Temple with Emrakul.
Sure.
And then you can just play Elder Deep Fiend hardcast for 7 lands.
All right. So you're kind of merging both decks. You're attacking on multiple axes. You kind of have this beatdown plan, but you also have the Emrakul in-game, Ishkanah tying it all together.
Yeah, I would say I'm a little less aggressive than Andrew's deck by a lot. Also, like Owen played 3 Elder Deep Fiend and 1 Retrogryph, kind of just like as a cheap thing that could sometimes happen. I'm actually playing 3 Retrogryph, 2 Deep Fiend, because it's really important to me that I can play a Retrogryph on the cheap, and it's very good with Primal Druid because you can play it on turn 4, emerge the Primal Druid, get a land, accumulate a bunch of resources, draw a card, trigger Kozilek's Return for cheap. So this is definitely like my bridge card, even though I'm still utilizing the raw power of Elder Deep Fiend.
Right. Sideboard, you have some of the things we've seen before. You got some more Emerge targets, but you got Lashweed Lurker.
I got a bunch of stuff you haven't seen either.
You're right. And then, of course, Kiora, and we got to talk about the Dragon Master Outcast. We saw this back in Jeskai Black making an appearance here.
So a lot of decks, like their plan is to Infinite Obliteration you post-board, or to try to disrupt your haymakers. So I have like a diverse suite of additional threats on my sideboard. Dragon Master Outcast kind of adds to that plan, even though it's not it's not really like my plan A, B, or C against those decks, but it's something that I can board in for free. Like, it's easy to like grapple or gather into it early and then like pick it up. Or like if I just like draw it on turn 6, I can like double spell when it's turned on, because again, I have so many ways to actually get lands on the battlefield. But it's actually really good against Bank Company. It's again, a 1-mana thing, so I can play it late in the game and play an additional card. And if they Reflector Mage it, it's not too big of a deal. But if I ever untap with it and start making dragons, they basically can't beat it.
Yeah, have a hard time getting through 5/5 flyers.
Exactly.
You got Noose Constrictor in here along with another Ishkanah and some Tireless Trackers.
Yep, Noose Constrictor is basically a concession to the Blue-Red Fever Visions matchup. It's probably not very good game 1, but if I just like play Noose Constrictor, that can turn into this like quasi beatdown deck where I just like discard a bunch of cards, deal him a bunch of damage, and then play a Deep Fiend eventually, lock him down. That should be enough to win the game. Tireless Tracker is kind of a nice tie-in with the Dragon Master Outcast of like diversifying my threats. It's like a nice sticky threat that generates card advantage. If they're trying to just like transgress me and Infinite Obliterate me, then I can just play a Tireless Tracker, make a couple clues, and just like pull ahead on raw resources. And then Ishkanah is kind of just like a nice tie-in with, against Bank Company, it's really annoying, and if I need an additional threat, I can do that way. And it's also really nice with Evolutionary Leap, one of my favorite cards.
This deck looks very good with Evolutionary Leap.
Oh yeah, Evolutionary Leap's really nice with Spiders, really nice with Primal Druid. Just get a bunch of raw resources, get additional creatures. Eventually, your hand is just like 2 Deep Fiends and an Emrakul, and you just have your way.
All right. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing this deck in action. Standard's the second half of the day. We're only a round away from that right now, so hopefully you guys see this. Enjoy it on coverage. And Michael, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
Thank you for having me.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all week long for the action here in New Jersey.